get them to briefly, individually introduce themselves. And then after they've introduced themselves, and I'll tell them what they need to introduce themselves under, I will ask them some questions, and then they can take turns and answer those questions. And if we have a bit of time, then at the very end, then we can have a few maybe question and answers from the people attending, and the students can just take turns or randomly just answer those questions. So for the people who don't know me, my name is Kian. I am a senior lecturer at Brunel University. I'm an occupational therapist. I'm also the program lead for the BSc and also the admissions tutor. So I kind of do quite a bit of work around access to the different professions, particularly for occupational therapy. So as I said, I'm very pleased to be able to have Bridget, Fatima, Fazia, and Gopika, right? And what I'm going to ask them to do is I'm going to ask Bridget in a moment to start first, and then Fazia, and then Fatima, and then lastly Gopika. And what I'm going to get you to do is firstly just tell us who you are, so just your name. Please share with us your ethnic background or your cultural background, as well as maybe any religious backgrounds which might be relevant to you. If you have come from outside of the UK, you weren't born in the UK, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about that, and that'll be very helpful. And then just tell us which professional group you're in, and whether you are, say, a BSc student or MSc student or an apprentice, which route you're taking, basically. And also, are you in year 1, year 2, year 3, or whatever? Okay, so let me repeat myself. So just tell us who you are. Just tell us what kind of ethnic or cultural background you're from, or if your religious background is relevant to you, then please do share that. Just tell us which profession you're in, which year you're in, and also whether you're a BSc, MSc, or apprenticeship, or any other kind of route you're taking. And then after we've gone right around, I will ask those individual questions one at a time, and then you can just take your turns in terms of answering it. So if we go with Bridget first.
So hi everyone, my name is Bridget. I'm first year student, apprentice on the undergraduate course, occupational therapy. And I'm originally from Uganda. I moved to the UK 6 years ago. And I'm a Christian by background. And I'm currently working at Newham Hospital as a therapy assistant. Yeah, I think that's it about me. Anything I've missed?
No, it's all right. Don't worry if you miss something, because later on when I ask you the questions, you can obviously add those things in, and some of it will overlap a little bit, so that's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we go with, I think I said Fatima next.
Oh, hi everyone, I'm Fatima, and I'm studying dietetics first year at Leeds Beckett University. So my cultural background, South Asian, Bangladeshi. Both my parents were born in Bangladesh, moved here in 1980s, and obviously myself, I was born here. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Great, thank you. And Fazia?
Hi everyone, so I'm also Bangladeshi. I've just finished second year. I'm studying the undergraduate course for operating department practice. Again, like Fatima, my dad came from Bangladesh and he moved over here, and of course I was born over here.
Okay, thank you. And Gopika?
Hello everyone, my name is Gopika and I am a final year MSc occupational therapy student. Studying at Brunel. In terms of background, I come from an Indian heritage, so my family are from a place called Kerala, which is located in South India. Before doing my master's, I did an undergraduate in psychology.
Great, thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you all the first question, and then you can just take turns to answer that. And you can do the format that we just did, or you can just come in, it's fine, not a problem. So the first question is, why did you go into that particular profession that you're in? Okay, so we want to maybe start with Bridget.
Okay, so personally, before joining the OT course, I was and I'm still working as a therapy assistant. So supporting the physios and the OTs, it just made me realize how much of a difference it was making on people's lives, especially after like a long illness. They can't do a lot of things on their own. So it just felt like supporting them to get back to doing what they love to do was kind of like making a difference to them, because they were able to do the things that they enjoy doing, things that have meaning to them. So in that way, I just thought, okay, if I become an OT, then I can provide this service at a more professional level. So yeah, that's what drove me to joining the OT course.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bridget. And Fatima?
So obviously I've got a different story actually. So I obviously graduated a few years ago in finance, worked a few years, office environments, and then I realised that I wanted to change. So obviously just before lockdown, I made the decision to go out and study dietetics. I think my inspiration was mainly from doing a lot of voluntary work, having family members who work for the NHS. That was my inspiration. But most importantly, I feel like I wanted a career where I'll be able to help people and just make a difference to people's lives. So I think that was one of my main decisions. So the reason why I chose dietetics was because I've got a passion for cooking, and I've always had like a personal interest in how food can influence our health positively. So that was one of my main reasons for wanting to study dietetics.
Great, thank you. And Fatia?
For me, it was quite, to be fair, it was like the normal route. So I did A-levels, and during my A-levels, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just kind of knew about dentistry, medicine, you know, the more mainstream occupations. And after I did a bit of research, I did work experience in different areas of the hospital. I think I was really lucky because I got to do in different departments, and I came across the operating theatres where I was able to do shadowing for a few days. And from there, that's when I decided that it was an environment that I wanted to work in.
Okay, great, thank you. And Kopika?
So for me, it's when I started working as a rehab assistant. So I admired what occupational therapists do, and it's the fact that you don't only just work with the individual, but you work with their families. You learn about their culture and the different beliefs, but you also work with people from different ages and different abilities. And I found that with occupational therapy, that you help people to participate and engage in everyday activities, and you help them kind of discover or rediscover their interests whilst helping with their independence and confidence, but overall changing that quality of life. And I think the aspect of changing quality of life with a meaningful occupation is what made me choose the profession.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the next two questions, they are kind of interrelated to the one that you've answered just, because I know I just asked you about why did you choose that particular profession. So the next set of questions are actually, what made you decide, yes, this is what I want to do? So I kind of know you've touched on it slightly, but you know, what made you decide, yes, this is definitely what I want to do in terms of occupational therapy or in terms of dietetics or whatever else? And was there a particular point in time when you thought, yep, I'm going to do this? You know, did it just recently happen, just before you started? Or, you know, as Anita was saying earlier, you know, did you decide at 7-year-old you already were going to do the job you were in or the career you were going into? So Bridget, maybe?
Okay, so connecting to my first point, of course, the helping people like achieve their independence and caring for them. That bit is I've explained in the first question, but again, because I was working with the OTs, I was learning a lot from them. But then at the same time, when I kind of looked at the team that we have, it's not a very big team of therapists, but it kind of like had only about like 2 people from the BAME community.
Yes.
So, and everybody was like, the nurses was so many. There were there were so many women there. So I just thought to myself, I think I need to join this team because I need to be part of these people. I just want to see why why is it only 2 people in a team of 40 people and they're just only 2 people from the BEM community. So I just thought I need to do this because I know I can do it as somebody from a BEM community that has joined the country 6 years ago. So yeah, I gave it a go, and yeah.
Great, thank you. It's so important to and also that stepping up and putting yourself up there and saying, yep, I'm going to represent this particular group because they're underrepresented. Okay, Fatima?
So I actually shadowed 2 dietitians before applying for uni, and the 2 dietitians that I actually shadowed were from different ethnic backgrounds as well. So I feel like that was, I sort of looked at it, if they can do it, I can sort of do it. But that definitely confirmed my choice. But also the area within dietetics that I'm interested in at the moment is diabetes. So my dad actually has type 2 diabetes. He's had it for over a decade. So I just feel like going into a profession where I can help my South Asian community as well, and to sort of be in a workforce where I'm representing that, I think for me is quite important.
Thank you. Fausia?
For myself, I think growing up, I knew that I wanted to work in healthcare. I just didn't know how to get into it, and obviously the mainstream one was medicine. So I actually, going through A levels, I picked A levels and whatnot to go into medicine. I knew that was a choice. But when preparing to apply to medicine, I was in a part of a group in college, and during this group is where I discussed that I wasn't 100% sure what I actually wanted to do, but I just knew I wanted to work in the operating theatres. And from there, that's when I did work experience in different departments. I was quite lucky because I managed to contact a hospital that allowed me to do work experience in the radiography department. I didn't like it that much there. Then I did shadowing in the operating department, and that's where I really liked it. And for me, it was so much better because I'm a person who enjoys theory but also practical, and my degree is a bit of both. It's more practical than theory, and I really enjoy that because I get that hands-on experience before, so I know when I qualify what I'm working towards.
Yeah, thank you. And Gopika?
Yeah, so for my one, I actually only found out what occupational therapy was when I was doing my undergraduate in psychology in 2nd year. So the uni I went to at Brunel, they offered this mentoring program where you're with a mentor who helps you with your application process and helps you with your skills and stuff. And my mentor at the time suggested that my skill sets were quite good for occupational therapy. But that being said, I did go ahead and graduate in psychology, and I worked as a rehab assistant. And when I worked with as a rehab assistant, I worked along occupational therapist, and we went through community visits. So we would go into people's homes and kind of help them with activities of daily living. And there was one particular visit that I went to where this individual wanted to go into the garden because they haven't been to the garden for some time. So we set a goal and we worked towards working to making this person go into the garden. And the first thing when they achieved the goal, they said to me was they can smell the garden again. And then for me, I think that's when I started to realize that how meaningful a certain occupation can be for people. And that's when I decided that this was the occupation for me, where I can help people improve their quality of life, but also increase their health and well-being by helping them find a meaningful occupation. And that's when I decided this was the profession for me.
Okay, great. I mean, I think it's in the chat I can see, but so much the importance of role modeling and having the opportunity, and also being able to see people like you in the professions you're going in, which makes you think actually it's possible, or actually this profession is welcoming of that diversity, and that diversity might be yourself in terms of your presentation and so on. Great. Okay, so the next question is, what was the admissions process like? So what was the process like for you having that going through the admissions process of going to the university course that you were doing? So Bridget?
So mine being an apprentice, they brought the application part. So they sent the email out to the manager, and then the manager sent it out to everybody else. So we are about 6 therapy assistants, and it's just like I'm the only Black person, like everyone else is like either English or from somewhere else. So when it came through, we're told to apply. So we had to put in the interest. So when we put it in, we had an interview with the tutor from UEL, and you had to have like a supporting statement from your manager.
Okay.
So my clinical manager has always wanted me to become an OT, so it was easy for me. She gave me the supporting statement, and I put my application in. I put the requirements there, and then I went for the interview, and yeah, that's how I got in. So I passed the interview, and then I got the admission to UEL.
Good, well done. Fatima?
Yeah, so with mine, I had to do an access course before going on because I didn't have any like science related background or anything. So I had to get distinctions in that, and then it was just a UCAS application, and then I had an interview with 2 lecturers at Leeds Beckett. It was online because it was during COVID times, and it was just asking me different questions based on like the NHS values. But yeah, that was pretty much it really for mine.
Okay, great. Fazia?
I think mine went pretty smoothly, to be fair, as well. So I did my A levels at college, and I also did an EPQ that was mentioned earlier on to help with the admissions process. Going through the interview was the same in all the universities I went to. I did notice like the big difference in different universities I went to. So currently I'm at University of Central Lancashire, and I noticed like there were very little, like the amount of people that were there to interview was like very small compared to the other universities I had gone to. But like it went really smoothly. It was really good, to be fair. It was a good process.
Okay, thank you. And Gopika?
For my one, because I was doing a master's and I wanted to be located in London, I think there was only 2 universities that provided a master's in occupational therapy. And in terms of application process, I think there was 2 entry requirements, that being you had to have a certain, so I think you had to have a first or a 2-1 in your undergraduate. And the second one being you had to have at least a year's experience in a health and social care setting. Once that's done, you kind of apply for the course where you do you do a written task with your experience and why you want to do occupational therapy. And then you get called for an interview. And then once the interview is done, you go through this written test. And then once that's done, you get enrolled into the course.
Okay, great. So all slightly different experiences, but I guess one of the kind of key things I think, especially with what Bridget was saying, is about having those people that are supportive of you, whether it be in the workplace or even your family members or your community, your friends. Those are kind of sometimes really quite important to kind of help you, give you that little push. And then, of course, maybe having the opportunity to prepare a little bit for your, the kind of admissions or the selection process. That's always quite helpful. Okay. So my last question for all of you, and this isn't in the actual script, but I'm particularly interested in this because I'm the admissions tutor. So I just wanted to know, and of course you can speak specifically about your profession, but you might have an answer for the more broader AHPs, do you think there is something that we can do? I'm talking about the professional groups, so all the different AHPs are represented here. But is there something for the professional AHP groups that we can do to publicize our professions so that it reaches your communities? Because I know from my experience is that sometimes the traditional ways that universities, professional groups have always tried to promote their professions, they are okay in reaching the general communities, but they never ever quite meet or hit the target of diverse communities, right? So I don't know whether you have some insights into how you think some of the professional groups that are represented here, the kind of 14 HPs, can, you know, in a sense, promote themselves better so that they can reach your communities and, you know, make people in your communities much more aware that, hey, there are these professions here, and they have a look at them. So maybe Bridget.
Is that at university, like when the universities are
it can be at any
concept?
level. It can be at any level. Yeah, you can talk about communities, or if you are aware of the professional bodies, that you can say that too. Yeah.
Well, so I think like at the university level, if you know when they give out like brochures about the universities and everything,
Yes.
the brochures that have got like the different courses, I just feel like if those brochures could have more representation of the BEM
Yes.
communities in there,
Yes.
and
Okay.
the brochures should kind of like have role models that are from the BEM community,
Okay.
so that these students that want to join uni are like, they have like a role model, or they
Yeah.
have someone that they look up to.
Yeah.
From their own kind of like background, and then if the brochures have like different cultural views, and just to make it a bit more diverse, like the brochure should just have a lot of diversity in it. And then I think like on the professional level, if there's kind of like an increased representation of the BEM employees within the AHP workforce, mainly like the managerial posts, because it's the managers that will push the employees to have like a career progression into
Yeah.
something else that they want to be. Like if my clinical lead is like a clinical lead occupational therapist, they will encourage you to go for that course. And because they're BAME, you kind of like feel like, okay, I can be like her. I want to be like her because she'll be like your role model and she's supporting you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what I think.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. And Fatima?
I think you know, having career talks and you know, like in schools, universities, colleges, you know, in so many different environments, having those from different backgrounds going in and speaking to others about their profession, I do think that could inspire others. But also I think social media is quite powerful nowadays, so I think using social media as a tool to reach out to others, because I think you know, it's going to be increasing now. A lot of people are on social media, and I think if you want to get a message out to people, that's, you know, the way to do it now.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Fatia?
I actually agree with Fatima on that point, because I feel like social media is a big thing, but I feel like it should be catered more towards like the BAME community. So, you know, when they got advertising, maybe they should do it in different languages and whatnot. So then even if someone might not understand it in English, they'll understand it in their own language. And I feel like it's also simple things such as like word of mouth. Like even if someone asks what you do as a career, if you actually like you know, with passion, like you show them what you do. Because in the 2 years that I've been studying, I've spoken to so many people that didn't know what my career was, and once they knew, they were just like, right, well, I'll go tell my niece about it. Like they just didn't know it existed at all. So I do think it's I think social media is definitely a big thing, because now even the older generation are using social media, and it's just simple stuff like if it's just a post in different languages that they can understand.
Yeah, great. And Gopika?
So for me, I come from a community where only sometimes a certain profession is quite looked at, and I think spreading the word to not only children but also parents that there are professions out there that's also rewarding, and maybe have like open days where the children but also parents can join as well, where they learn about all the different professions.
Yes. Great, thank you. Okay, so those are the questions. What I'm going to ask the people listening in is, if you have a particular question that you want to pose, we maybe have 5 minutes for this, to any of the students on the panel, then please put it in the chat.
Yeah, there's a question there's a very important question in the question in the chat from Olan. Olan, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah,
thank
please
you.
Do. Ola, do you want to ask?
He says, when did they first know about the profession they are currently studying in? And is it different from what they intended to do?
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, go on then. Yeah.
So I first heard about the OT course when I started working in my current job. Because in Uganda, by the time I knew that it's ever been thought of, because it's not there, is when I was already here. So I first heard of the course when I was in the UK. So that's like 6 years ago.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the panel that wants to answer that?
For me, I had to actually research it. I didn't even know dietetics was a career. I didn't know that it was a part of an allied health profession a few years ago, I'll be honest. So when I was choosing a different career, I actually originally started looking for nutrition degrees because I thought, you know, that was the only degree out there relating to food. It was then I came across dietetics. And yeah, that's how my journey sort of began, yeah.
Great.
For myself, like, it was just that I was in the process of applying to medicine, so I was literally I was getting ready to do the UCAT and whatnot, and then it was just one. Then I came across and I was like, I'm not 100% sure if this is what I want to do. And then again, it was just with research where I did my own work experience and everything to find out what I actually wanted to do.
Great. Thank you, Peter.
And for my one, it was through a mentoring program that was offered by Brunel. So when I was doing my undergraduate in psychology, that's when I first came across occupational therapy. And then whilst I was working with occupational therapists, that's when I chose this was the profession.
Okay. And I think there's a second part to that question, which is whether the profession that you're in, has it turned out to be what you expected it to be? Fatima, you want to go first?
I feel like I'm in first year still, but I feel like I'm enjoying it so far. I think the way the course is going, it's, you know, I feel like it has met my expectations so far, and I will be starting placement in a few weeks as well. So I'm looking forward to actually going out into practice and sort of applying the theory that I've been learning this last year.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, great. Anybody else?
For myself, it was very hardcore. Like, sorry, when I started, I went straight into placement as soon as I started the degree. But I've just finished second year and I absolutely love it. Like, I can imagine myself working in this role now. Like, I don't regret any bit of it.
Great. Richard?
Well, personally, the course means a lot to my current job because it's just helping me do my job better as a therapy assistant. So now I'm like an occupational therapy assistant instead. So with the course, it just made my job a bit easier.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anything you want to say, Gokika? You're right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think Rachel Picton, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just got a quick question while I've got you here,
Yeah.
and it's a fairly personal question to the students. So you do not need to answer it if you really don't want to, because I'm being nosy. So I'm in my final year of my PhD. I'm looking at the role of social media in professional learning. So trying to distinguish between your personal use and the professional use. Do any of you do stories, reels? I don't really know what I'm talking about. The short things on Instagram. So do you do them in your personal life? Is that something that you engage with?
Yeah, so I feel like I could sort of answer that. I've had a professional Twitter account since before starting my course. So I use that sort of to connect with students, dietitians, nutritionists. But I've also recently made an Instagram account as well. So I can share sort of my journey with students, sort of give them university advice. So, you know, like document my placement journey and stuff. And yeah, I do that in my personal time, yeah.
Thank you.
I can actually relate to this as well because when I first started my degree, obviously going into it, a lot of people would still ask me what's an ODP. So I wanted to kind of, you know, at least give a little bit of change, like make it known and do my part. So I obviously did my professional Twitter account and I had an Instagram where I'd like kind of documented my journey and whatnot, made stories, and honestly, like I felt like it was really useful. Like I gained a lot of opportunities from those, having just that social media, the professional one out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the research that I'm getting back at the minute is the Instagram, the story, the short 20 seconds video interaction is where students like to learn. But I was just thinking about the use of that for promoting the professions now, is having that elevator speech, that 20-second, what is a ODP or an OT or a physio, would be such a, I think, such a great way to start to promote more, because those are the things that are going to get watched. And I feel if I did them, there'd be absolutely no point whatsoever, because I am too old and not relevant enough, and I'm white, to not get the message across. So I just think I'm just fascinated by that whole, the students who are then crossing the divide from doing it from their personal journey into that professional space, and how much more we could grow that for great effect. That was my comments and my thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that you say that, because when we go like on Instagram, when you go through stories, sometimes you'd get an occasional ad, and then it's like you stop to watch it sometimes. And I think if how you say, like, if it's like representation, then obviously you say what people will actually stop to watch and know what we're talking about. So I think it's quite a useful way of spreading the word, to be fair.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to squeeze in one quick question if possible. Thomas, do you think it's possible to have one quick question?
Very, very quickly.
Okay, which is, for all of you, could you maybe say 2 things that you think helped you in your transition when you started your course?
I think for me, having the support from my family and friends was important, because obviously I switched careers, so that was important. But then also a sense of belonging at university, for me being a mature student, going back and having other mature students on the course as well, that sort of made me feel welcome, that, you know, there are others in the same situation as me, and sort of making friends. I feel like that was a really important part for me.
Excellent, thank you. Anybody else? Bridget?
So with me, it's my tutor at uni and my managers at my place of work.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And anybody else?
A big thing for me was the support from like my family and whatnot, because I do a lot of placement, and I genuinely, like, I feel like a lot of my time is on placement. But the support that I've got from my family and friends, like sometimes I'd have my downtimes, but they're always there, you know, to like help, like motivate me and let me like carry on doing it.
Great, thank you. And Gopika?
I think for me it's also my family and also my previous employment. They were quite supportive, but also because in the course that I'm doing, so in our university, they've kind of implemented this educational intervention where they're trying to make it inclusive, with each case study that's being represented by people like us. So I think that's what's kind of helped me feel like, oh, I belong in this course.
Okay, thank you so much. I really want to thank you for sharing your stories, your experiences, and so on. Please stay till the end if you can, and I'm going to hand the time over back to Tom.